Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the 2026 PS5 exclusive Code Violet. Now this game is incredible for many different reasons. I first heard about this game because there's a GameRanks video that talks about some interesting titles that are coming out in the future, and when I saw it, it was described to me as a Dead Space and Resident Evil inspired game with an interesting protagonist that fights dinosaurs. Now to me, that sounds interesting. I wanted to play that, especially as my itch to play Resident Evil 9 gets a little bit stronger and a little bit harder to itch as that game inches closer. But this game is not good. It's hilarious, and in the worst way possible, it's something I can't stop playing. I have no idea how this game launched in January 2026. It looks like a PS2 era game. I want to be clear up front. I'm going to keep playing it. I mean, I paid for it, and honestly, I've been laughing through most of it. But after 3 hours, Code Violet feels unfinished, confusing, and unbelievably janky, and I think it deserves to be talked about. But unlike Code Violet, I intend to provide you not janky and polished content. So if you like this video, please make sure you hit that like button so hard that the dinosaurs come back, and subscribe if you're interested.
Everyone, Starbridge.
What's Starbridge?
Not Earth.
My very first impression with this game, as soon as I booted it up, was the menu, and this thing feels wrong. It feels like it's physically bad. Just scrolling through the options, I was like, what the heck am I even doing here? The navigation feels clunky, and none of it feels polished. Again, it feels like a third-party PS2 game, and that kind of sets the tone for everything that follows. The intro cutscene throws you right into the game with zero context. The characters are stiff, their movements don't match what's happening, and nothing is explained. Now, this is fine if you're telling a compelling story, or perhaps you want to come back and leave your players in confusion so that way they can learn and have a big aha moment. But after 3 hours, I still have no clue what is happening. And I think that's very important to mention because after 3 hours, I still don't know what's happening, who Violet is, or why I should care about this random and weird protagonist. The next thing that we really have to talk about, since we've talked about the main character Violet, is the character models themselves, because this is a 2026 release and it's a PlayStation 5 exclusive. These character models are terrible. The facial animations, specifically the mouth movement and the lip syncing, are some of the worst I've seen in almost a decade. It genuinely reminded me of Deadly Premonition, which is another game that's so bad it's good and it has a cult following, but this game, it just looks so bad. I don't know if this is a localization issue, because maybe there are multiple languages that this game came out in and they're trying their best to match the lips to a general sense of what the people are saying, or if it's unfinished animation, but it is very noticeable, and it had me laughing through most of the cutscenes.
Something bothering you?
For the first chunk of the game, you're just walking around in your tank top and underwear. Eventually you find a gun, a knife, a radio, and supplies, all picked up in a cutscene, and Violet places them behind her like she's putting them in a backpack. But when the cutscene is over, she stands up, she doesn't have a backpack, and she's just wearing absolutely nothing. Now I understand if you're playing a game like Skyrim, perhaps this makes sense, it's a fantasy game, but this game is trying to invest me and indulge me in its world, and it just completely took me out of it. I was like, what is this girl doing? Where is she putting these things? And the radio that she picks up literally just floats on her back. There are no straps, no attachment, and the shadows and the animation of this radio make no effort to make it look like this thing is attached to her. It's just floating there. And once you notice these things, you can't unsee it, and it's very distracting from a game that's trying to immerse me in its world. Not long after you pick up these weapons, combat begins, and it really starts to show the cracks that I already saw pretty heavily up to this point. Early enemies are just tiny dinosaur creatures that run up and nibble at your feet and run away. Rinse and repeat. They're hard to hit, not because they're smart, but because the camera constantly gets stuck behind Violet's shoulder, and the enemies kind of just float around. They don't even walk, they just kind of float, and although their feet are moving, it does not match up with how they're moving. They run at you, attack, and run away. That's it. There's also a larger dinosaur enemy that you encounter pretty early, but it literally just stands there repeating the same animation, waiting for you to walk into its line of sight. Again, this is PS2 era gaming. It does not reap that it was from 2026 or a PS5 exclusive. This game is janky and it feels very lazy. Just like GameRanks told me, this game does pay homage to games like Resident Evil and Dead Space because there are some assets that look like they pulled directly from the Dead Space remake, and you do pick up pills and you're able to combine them in order to make more capable healing items like Resident Evil. But realistically, this just comes out silly. The characters are still running around half naked, and her entire inventory is expanded and you're holding a million things, and it just doesn't make sense. I also find it funny to picture this woman picking up blue pills and red pills, and in the middle of this dinosaur infested laboratory she's mixing them together and somehow getting purple pills that heal her better. It's like the game wants survival horror mechanics, but it hasn't earned the atmosphere to support them. Now, in time, you do actually get a suit, and that's part of the story. You have to get a suit because you're going to go through different temperatures and you need to protect your body. And once you do that, you actually unlock character customization in one of the save rooms where you can pick out one of many different suits or outfits for your character that all lean quite heavily into the sex appeal of the game. But it did give me quite a few options. I'm not sure if this is because I pre-ordered it or if it's already preloaded into the game, but I did find it to be pretty cool. But it did not take long for the jank factor to find its way back to the forefront, because as soon as you change the color of your character's hair, the mirror that's reflecting behind her does not change the color of her hair, and it just stays the same. And as you move the character around in the character editor model, the mirror is blurry and it has no polish, it has no touch, and it's just unfinished like the rest of the game. Now, once you finally get outside, I will admit the environment looks really cool. There's floating islands. It looks like a really interesting tropical location. The game is still very linear and has you only going in one direction. And although the sights caught my eye, I did realize something very important. You can literally just run past every enemy, and it is much better than sticking around and trying to fight these janky enemies with your janky weapons. That is how I got past this open world level and ran right into another laboratory level. And that's where I stopped. I found it so entertaining to just run past these dinosaurs that have terrible walking animations, because at one point they actually jumped over some obnoxious obstacles in a way that I was absolutely not supposed to see, just so that way they could get closer to me. And I found it funny that their AI stopped them from going through certain invisible barriers. This is very JV stuff that should have stopped in the PS3 era, and seeing this in a PS5 exclusive in January 2026 absolutely blows my mind. So to culminate all this, I gotta say, Code Violet after 3 hours is confusing, janky, poorly animated, overly sexualized, and mechanically outdated. I think it is hilarious to play, and I'm going to keep playing it because I already bought it and I put $50 into this game, and $50 is quite a bit of money for me to just throw a game away after finding out that it's hilariously bad. So whether this game turns out to be so bad it's good, or perhaps it just stays bad, I genuinely want to find out, and I can't wait to see what happens next. But that's just my thoughts. Did you also waste money on this game? Did this game blow your expectations out of the water in a bad way like it did for me? Let me know in the comments. I can't wait to tell you guys more about this game. I can't wait to keep experiencing it, and I can't wait to talk to you in the next one.